Assalamu alaikum, welcome to lesson 3 of Mukhtasar al-Qudoori. So let's start then. So the word mafrood translates as obligation or something that's obligatory, fard. So it's something that is necessary. Masah is from masaha yamsahu, which means to wipe. And we mentioned this word before as well. And head, ar-ra's, miqdar, translates as amount. The word nasiya, it translates as forelock, the hair which is at the front of the head. So let me give you an example of what this means. So imagine this is the head. So the hair that a person normally has in this region, the top area from here, roughly about there, that hair there is called the forelock or the nasiya in Arabic. Okay, so that's called the nasiya. Rubu' means a quarter, and we did rats already. Lima, li is harf jar, preposition. Also, okay, rawa, from rawa yarwi, which means to narrate. Rawa yarwi, to relate, to narrate, something like riwaya, you probably heard. Okay, and it's a past verb here. So rawa, and al-Mughira is someone's name. Okay, Ibn Shu'bah, famous Sahabi. He accepted Islam in the 5th year after Hijrah. So if you imagine this is the timeline, the 40 was when the Prophet ﷺ was given prophethood, and 63 when he passed away. So if you imagine there's the Hijrah, which took place, the migration, it was about 13 years after the prophethood or the Wahi was given. So about the year 53, you can say. And so if we add 5 years to that, it works out to 5 after Hijrah, which works out to about 58. Okay, anyway, he passed away in the year 50 after Hijrah. So this is a famous Sahabi, and he's relating this incident here. Radiya means to be pleased. Radiyallahu anhu is from the word rida. So this is a dua that we make for the Sahaba. And Nabi means prophet. And then it refers to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. The word sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is a dua, supplication that we make for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you probably hear many people say it as well. So this is something which is actually a past verb, salla Allahu, which means Allah sent salutations upon him, wasallam. So Allah sent blessings upon him and salutations. But it has the meaning of future, it has the meaning of dua. And this is something in the Arabic language that happens sometimes, where a past verb is mentioned, and what's intended by that is the present or even future dua. Ata, this is from ata ya'ti, which means to come or to go to. Subata, subata, this is the dump site, okay, the area where people dump their rubbish, their litter of a village. And it's like this, imagine this was a village, and the village you have homes. They usually have the dump site on the outskirts of the village or city. Okay, so you can imagine it roughly about in this area, you have the dump site. So that would be called a subata. Subata. Okay, anyway, the word qawm means people or nation. Bala is a verb, past verb, from bala yabulu, which means to urinate. Bala yabulu. Tawadda'a is from past verb, from tawadda'a yatawadda'u, to perform wudhu. Tawadda'a yatawadda'u, to perform wudhu. And masaha, we did this before as well. Masaha. Nasi you've done. Khufayhi. This is a dual word from the word khuf. So khuffayn is actually dual of khuf. Khuffayn, which means leather socks. And now when the hu is added onto the end, the noon gets cut off there. So it refers to leather socks. Leather socks. Okay, so now let's have a go at the tarkib. So some of these words already have vowels on there. So al-mafrudu, right, why does this have a dhamma on there? Okay, the reason this has a dhamma is, remember, if a sentence starts off with a noun, an ism, then that's a mubtada. So al-mafrud is the mubtada. Fi is harf jar, preposition, and it gives a kasra to mashi. Mas is actually the overall, so mudaf, mudaf ilay, idafa. So it takes a single kasra. So fi mashi al-ra'si. Now all of that is considered to be the mubtada. We're going to come back to that after a bit. Okay, so wal-mafrudu fi mashi al-ra'si. Miqdaru is again idafa, mudaf, mudaf ilay. And the reason it has a dhamma is because it's marfu as a khabar. And nasiyati takes a kasra because it's mudaf ilayhi. Okay, so all of this sentence becomes mubtada, and miqdaru nasiya is considered khabar. So al-mafrudu fi mashi al-ra'si. Let me just add this part on. Okay, fi al-mafrud fi mashi al-ra'si, all of that is the mubtada, and the rest of it, miqdaru nasiyati, is the khabar. Okay, next, so waw can be ataf or it can be istinaf. Huwa goes back to miqdar. So this itself is a damir, but it's a mubtada here. And rubu'u al-ra'si, mudaf, mudaf ilay, becomes the khabar. So huwa rubu'u al-ra'si. Huwa rubu'u al-ra'si. Mubtada and khabar. Another jumla, ismiya. Okay, this lam is harf jar, preposition. And the ma is actually mawsul. So here this ma is mawsul, and what's going to come after is going to be the sila. Some have said this can also be ma masdariya. In that case, what comes after would be bita'wil, transformed into a masdar. So rawa is a fi'l madi, past. Mughira is the fa'il of rawa, and ibn, this is the badal of a mughira. Mughira is the mubadal minhu, and ibn is the badal for clarification, substitute. Okay, and ibn is the mudaf, and shu'ba is mudaf ilay, but has a fatha as it's a ghair munsarif. So instead of the kasra, we give it a fatha because it's a ghair munsarif, and that's mabni al-fath. Okay, so it's ghair munsarif. Now, why is it ghair munsarif? Because number one, it's a name. Number two, it's has a ta marbuta at the end, feminine ta. Even though it's a masculine name, it has a ta marbuta. So al-Mughiratu ibnu Shu'bata instead of Shu'batin. Okay, radiyallahu anhu. So we want to that then. Now, radiyallahu anhu, it is again like a dua. So the word Allah is the fa'il of radiya. Anhu is jar majrur. So radiyallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with him. Anna, this is huruf mushabba bil fi'l. Anna, inna, annaka, anna, lakinna, layta, la'alla. So the anna, it gives the word after it a fatha. Remember that. Anna gives the word after it, which here is the Nabi, gives it a fatha. And we call it now the ism of anna. So instead of calling it a mubtada, we call it the ism of anna. And ism of anna, as you know, is one of the mansubat, words that have fatha. Anyway, so ata, this is ata, ata ya'ti, so it's the fi'l madi, the fa'il inside of it, huwa. Subatata qawmin, the idafa here. So this mansub, because it's maf'ul bihi, حتى he came to سباتة قوم. Okay, so مضاف and مضاف إليه قوم, so it takes كسرة. فبال فعطف, بال is فعل ماضي, so هو. توضأ فعل ماضي like we said. مسح هو again فعل ماضي. على حرف جر and it gives ناصية مجرور. And the عطف, it carries the effect of the jar onto خفيه. So instead of خفاني or خفاه, it becomes خفيه. Yeah, خفي. So originally, like I said before, it's خفيني plus the hu. And if you have a dual word or a plural masculine as a mudaf, then you have to remove the nun. Okay, right, so that's the tarkeeb of that. Now let's look at this. All of this from Rawa al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah all the way to the end up to Khufayhi is the sila of ma. So all of this, all the way up to here, it's very long and it's all the sila of ma. Ma is the mawsul, that is the sila. Mawsul and sila put together become the majroor of li. Okay, let's look at the meaning of this text now then. So, al-mafrudu fi mashi ra'si miqdaru nasiyati. Okay, so what does this basically mean? So it basically means that what is the amount of head that we have to wipe when it comes to wudu? So there's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars about wiping of the head. Because the Quran just mentions wiping, but it doesn't mention the exact amount. So here Imam al-Qudoori, he brings the position according to the Hanafi scholars. And that is, like it's mentioned in the text, mafrudu fi mashi ra's. The obligation in wiping of the head is miqdaru nasiyati, the amount of the nasiyah. Now, like we said before, the nasiyah is that front area of the head, the top of the head where you have the nasiyah, the forelock, which is known as. That's known as the forelock, the nasiyah. So that amount, that's the amount that needs to be wiped for the obligation of wiping of the head to be fulfilled at least. That's what we say, the bare minimum of wiping of the head, which is the forelock. And that is roughly, if you work it out roughly, it works out to be approximately a quarter of the head. Okay, so a quarter of the head. So like you split up the head into 4 parts. This part works out to be a quarter of the head, 1/4 of the head. Okay, and so according to the Hanafis, you are allowed to wipe so long as a quarter, any part, it doesn't have to be just the nasiyah, any part of the head, as long as you wipe a quarter, then you've performed the wiping of the head, or you've at least done the fard. Now where do we get this from? We get this from the hadith. Now this hadith is actually an observation of a sahabi. So when a companion of the Prophet ﷺ, he observes the Prophet ﷺ's actions, this is known as an observation. It's known as amal al-Rasul ﷺ, the practice of the Prophet ﷺ, which was observed by the Sahaba. So many of the Sahaba, they would watch how the Prophet ﷺ would perform wudu, perform his salat, perform his hajj, and many other things, and they would tell other people about how the Prophet ﷺ used to do this. So when Mughira ibn Shu'bah he looks at this, he sees that he wiped over a quarter of his head, or his nasiyah. Now we take this to interpret what the verse means. So we say, if the verse says wipe your head, and we have a narration where the Prophet ﷺ, he wipes over a quarter of his head, then that means the Prophet ﷺ's action is an interpretation of the verse of the Quran that we discussed a few lessons ago. Okay, so here is also an usul, a principle of fiqh that we learn, that the actions of the Prophet ﷺ are explanations for verses in the Quran. So I hope that makes sense. Jazakumullah khair. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.